hit those expectations, like good and bad. So you imagine all of the positive things, and generally speaking, that's what you see, and you imagine some of the not so positive things, and you see that as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth a visit for sure.
Yeah, New York is waiting.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, we're live, everybody. Welcome to Bring Food Live on Air. We are bringing it to you every Friday, no fail. It is episode 268. And today, we've got a kind of a special show. It's sort of a format of a show we don't usually do. But I heard of this example of really some technical work from our good friend Aaron Lintz. And I just thought it was so ingenious, but so inspirational to see it. I thought that, you know what, it's worth our while to actually change our pro forma in order for to see and learn from what Aaron's got to show us. So this is basically how to build a job scraper with a scripting. I don't think it's necessarily with Python, but with some sort of scripting language. Now, just to put this into a bit of context, in fact, Aaron will tell you all this about in the future, but some of the people in the commentary have said don't quite understand what we mean by the title. What we mean by a job scraper, I should have. It's literally the case. So someone who's built an aggregator that would crawl the internet for a particular type of job. And then put it into a spreadsheet, basically. And obviously, the value of doing that is that it can operate 24/7 without anybody having to monitor it. And of course, if you're looking for leads, it's particularly interesting if you're following up on that. Or in Aaron's case, if you're looking for jobs, back in the day when he was on the job market, he built this for a job as a job search strategy. I thought that was a very good way to basically give yourself an edge. So anyway, that's the topic of today's conversation. Okay, cool. Let's say hello to Alla Pavlova. Alla, you're back again on the show, becoming a kind of like we call it a bad penny in the UK. So this is a good thing. Basically means you're always recurring. You're like a recurring character on Brain Food Live. So great to see you again.
Great to see you, and also great to be here. And I'm very excited because I'm also learning Python, and I have some recommendations if anyone is looking for books or courses. So happy to share a little bit. And my mom is watching. Hey, mom!
Oh, amazing! Hello, Pavla, sort of Alla's mum. Great to have family members watching along. Okay, cool. Let's firstly just do some sound checks. I want to make sure everyone can hear us okay on Crowdcast. We're broadcasting this as ever on Crowdcast. Let me know in the comments, sort of in the sidebar, if the audio and visual is fine. We are also broadcasting this on LinkedIn as ever. So if you can see and hear me on LinkedIn, do let me know there as well. I think I'm on about 3 different streams at this point. So just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down even if you can hear or see me okay. Okay, it looks like people are doing that. Okay, cool. Looks like things are going forward, which is good stuff. All right, excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. I tell you what, before we continue, we always have to thank our sponsors for supporting Bring Food Live on air, because without our sponsors, we cannot actually run this show. And every week we have an amazing company that comes on and says, you know what, we want this conversation to keep on going. And this week's sponsor is one of our very good friends, and I think one of the most innovative all-in-one platforms we're seeing out there in the AI-enabled world, and it's focused particularly on high-volume hiring and recruitment agency world, which I think is a massively underserved category when it comes to recruiting tech. And this is, of course, Atlas. And I do see Jordan in the crowd there. So let me bring Jordan on. He's going to come on and share some words with us here. Let's see if I can invite Jordan on.
Yeah, nice to have all-in-ones, right? Because if you have only one tool, it's one thing, but when you have everything in one place, that's, I think, everybody's looking for.
It's inevitable. I spoke to another friend of mine whose job it is to consolidate recruitment tech with an organization that had basically gone point solutions mad, and eventually everyone realized, you know what, we actually have to have a single system. So yeah, I think this is going to be the future. So there he is, Jordan, building the future. I don't know whether you can hear me, okay, Jordan. There's a bit of a. You look really blurry, but I think it's maybe just my internet. But hopefully, you can hear and see me, okay.
I do, and if I'm blurry, I may decamp downstairs and come back in a minute and get close to the old internet. So give me a moment.
What, I tell you what that is. That is the what do you call it? The Wi-Fi sort of range expander, which oftentimes doesn't work. Doesn't work particularly if you're trying to do a live stream. But I've had kind of experiments with this myself, and generally speaking, yeah, we need Starlink or something. It's not working. Folk, whilst we get Jordan back on stream, I just wanted to know, in your view, sort of what your general experimentation has been like when it comes to AI enablement. I think there's three buckets here. So on the one hand, on the far end, you've got like enterprise all-in-one software, which Jordan is building. On the middle, you've got these point solutions, which, are going to do one thing for you, but you do have to buy it. And then on the other, you've got stuff that Aaron's doing, like literally DIYing his own solution. So where are you in that spectrum? I'd love to know what our experimentation is currently. And there he is. Jordan's back. Good to see you, sir. Jordan, why don't you quickly introduce yourself for the people who don't know you? Who are you? What it is you do? And why should people care about Atlas?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I actually have purchased the Virgin broadband after last week's debacle. Just going to come next week instead. So maybe I'll become less blurry. I'm not sure. So I'm building a all-in-one platform for recruiters called Atlas. It's built around AI. We've raised about $2 million in pre-seed to do it. And we're taking our sweet time to make sure that the product we deploy out is really taking the core aspects of a recruiter's job and not using AI as a gimmick, but in a million little ways, which I'll show you a few shortly, to essentially mean that you don't have to force yourself to remember every single word you hear, nor have to do all that really boring stuff that you dread doing, but it's just part and parcel of the role.
Yeah, and I love the fact it's multi kind of all through the recruiter experience is basically some assistant that's going to help you get faster in the process. I'm actually currently going through probably the most lo-fi outreach project where I'm literally going through 1,000-person search on LinkedIn, and I'm sending a hand-typed message per person, not the 1,000 people, but I'm going through them. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is like I'm time warping back 20 years here. There's no reason why I should be doing this, but I don't have the tooling. So here we go. I'm doing that. So Jordan, it would be useful for the crowd to see a little bit of what you're talking about, just to visualize it for us. Show us a bit of this automation and support that Atlas is being able to give recruiters.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and link it to your main guest about scraping. Someone, in fact, talked about scraping salaries, and this is something that I will show as part of how you would source candidates via LinkedIn. So let me share my screen on my now much smaller screen. Now I've decamped to the middle of the house. And I'm going to minimize you all. Do you see my screen, which is essentially LinkedIn currently?
Yep.
Wonderful. So we're going to go through a small part of Atlas, and this is sourcing campaigns with an AI twist. Most of you are already familiar with outreach campaigns to candidates. Inside your platform, you can create a multi-step, multi-touch campaign with emails, LinkedIn's, and whatever. And then you can go on LinkedIn, find those incredible candidates and reach out to them. I want to show a few things that Atlas does differently. Now, I'll read a little bit because I'm going to assume that the screen is a little bit blurry. But what you can see in front of you is my profile here. And as you can expect in any sourcing system, you can choose a particular campaign, which you've already changed. You can edit it, change it to personalize it for that person. And then you can cadence that, which allows you to, outreach personally at scale. What the system does then is it listens to everything, your LinkedIn inbox and your email inbox. And every single response to your outreach, be it on email, be it on LinkedIn connection requests, be it in emails, is synced, ingested, understood for its intent, and moved through the pipeline for you. You can also find emails, phone numbers through this system if you don't have them already. For example, here is one of my very good friends, Adam, and I can very quickly find his email address through a waterfall of 8 different providers. But let's get to the AI cool stuff. As you can see, there's a little AI summary here, which says Jordan's indicated salary expectations are 170,000 to 1.2 million. Now, where's it getting that from? The system is syncing everything. It sits across your entire communication stack, which means everything that you say, hear, read, or write, the system also knows. So in some conversation somewhere, I have told Atlas that this is what I expect of my salary. I've got a bit greedy, as you can see. And that's the first thing. So if anyone mentions a salary to you, any form, Atlas pulls that salary down and stores it for you, which means you have an immediate database of all the salaries you have heard or your company has heard, and can do a lot of cool stuff with that. One better, I can click Ask AI. And this system is essentially my perfect memory co-pilot. So I can ask things like, what did Jordan do at Prosapiens? Now it's going to take this data from an interview I conducted with one of my colleagues, from my resume, from emails that I have sent. And essentially, instead of having to hunt around for that information, you can see that the system brings all that information right to me. And the cool thing here is that I don't even have to be on Atlas to do that. In fact, this little Chrome extension has the power of everything you and all of your colleagues have said, heard, read, and wrote, which means that using AI, we're not writing cool and fun poems, but we're actually allowing you to get access to all of your past memories instantaneously. I think I'll stop there, team. Hopefully that's a decent enough and unfuzzy enough demo.
No, I was gonna say it was like looking at the LinkedIn screen. So it was obvious that it was a Chrome extension. So that's like mega powerful. You're not switching out of flow. You're not forcing people necessarily onto another dashboard. They're living on LinkedIn or whatever place it is. That extension is available, and then it can just pop out and give you the information. And in fact, it could even, as you say, set up that sequence, a messaging sequence that you put in. You know what is super interesting that I'm discovering about all of this world is that the more we do, the more exciting it is. So the idea of being able to basically crunch all of the email data, for instance, suddenly you get access to all of that unretrievable information because it's buried in the emails or messages from years ago that can now be brought back to play for all kinds of purposes. So very exciting as well to see this, Jordan. Jordan, I think people need to have an experiment with this, and they can test it for free, can't they? What can they do with Atlas? They can use it, can't they?
Yeah. So we will be. We're currently closed in alpha, and we're going to reopen in 2 or 3 weeks. We've got a very cool big feature adding in a few weeks' time, hence the closure. And so you can sign up now if you want to be part of that next drop of users, which will be somewhere September 1st or so. And then use the platform for free, give it a whirl. And if you like it, continue. If you don't, we get it.
Perfect. Okay, share the link into the chat stream there, okay. Jordan. I think it is recruitwithatlas.com, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. And yeah, folks, just get in there. I think what I'm seeing is a lot of vendors that want you to try their products. So this feels like it's a no-brainer. Set aside some time, get a demo, or dive in and use the free trial and see what you can do to accelerate your process. Jordan, great to see you. I hope you have a very good weekend. I owe you an email, by the way. I haven't forgotten about that, and I'll pop that over to you over this weekend, okay?
Give me those emails. Hung, great to see you. Ella, great to see you as well. And looking forward to hearing about this scraping.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. A good question. May I ask you? You said that's also the things that you can hear. So, is it also like a recording what you're saying? Like is it? Or I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we are we it's a bot firstly that will sit on video calls, but the
Video
very,
calls.
very,
Okay, got
very cool thing that's coming out in a couple of weeks is
got
it
it.
can put your mobile phone conversations as
Oh,
well.
oh, okay. No
It's
spoilers
fully
then.
native in any way or fashion that you do. So we really want to make it so that if we know that we have perfect memory of what you have talked about, then that Copilot just becomes an incredible system to just be able to look like the perfect person for whatever thing you're doing.
Yeah, I asked because not everyone is recording the voice as well. So a lot of tools are using just text that you used and use it for reach out. So I was a bit surprised. So sorry. Sorry, it took some time. Thank you so
No
much for
worries at all.
explanation.
No
No
worries.
worries.
See you later, Jordan.
See you later. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
World is just changing around us, Allah. It's changing around us. And
So
I think
fast.
it is. It's so fast, and it's also one of these which it makes me excited. It kind of makes me think, you know what, maybe I want to get back into recruitment at some point, but we'll see. All right, listen, let's crack on with this. I wonder whether Aaron is still on the. Should we review the newsletter real quick?
Yes, I do. I can do it super quickly. So
let me just see if Aaron is actually there, because maybe we don't have to do it quickly if he's actually. No, he is there. Okay, do it super quick.
Okay,
and then
I
we'll
do
get
it
Aaron
super
on.
quick. Yes, so this is actually one exciting news that I've heard. Also, in the topic of creating the tools that actually can replicate your face. So imagine you have an interview and you think this is the one candidate, and AI is using it. And I already was a victim of this. I had Yoda on the interview. I joined the call and I saw I think Tom Cruise, and I was like, I think I know you. So this is probably interesting to follow and to read. And I think you subscribe for this person as well, Linus Ekenstam. So he posts a lot.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. If people haven't seen this, it's worth checking out. But essentially, we're at the point now where you can create an artificial avatar that, in fact, in real time seems to mirror your facial expressions and also your voice. And essentially how you speak, your tone, it can just transform it. So we're at the point now where even synchronized video is something you cannot fully trust, which is scary to think about.
I have a trick for that. So I agreed with my husband that we will have secret word that we're going to use in cases I will be calling him and asking him for a lot of money. So he knows what to ask to make sure it's me. So I suggest everyone to make a passcode.
It's a funny joke, but I think that's the way you're going to do it. I mean, for security reasons, if you have a family, for instance, some of parents and so on, it makes sense to have like a safe word at the beginning so that you know that's the real person. Because you can imagine, actually, you do a video call, some scammer might do a video call with your grandma. Like she's not going to know, even the scam call with you posing as the grandma. How are you supposed to know these days? So yeah, we need to start thinking about ways in which we can make sure that we build back that trust to the people we can actually trust. So I've just shared the link there. It's on a tweet, but it's well worth just having a quick scan of how that works. Okay, give us another one, Allah.
Another one is it's going to take some time to read for anyone interested. AI survey of 4 themes emerging. It was a really, really good read, and a lot of things surprised me, especially like the use case adoption rates in IT departments. They're one of the lowest. I understand the legal and HR, but I would expect that customer service will have a lot of optimization, a lot of AI integrated, and same for IT. It's really an interesting read in terms of like what is actually the concern also for the future, where is the fastest growing generative AI fields, and so data security and privacy is still like really on a different scale. So interesting read. Don't want to take a lot of time. Definitely recommend to read it.
Yeah, Bain have done some. Bain actually have got terrible design. Like as a consultancy, they're competing with the likes of like EY and McKinsey and Accenture producing these reports. I think Bain do a terrible job at designing it, but I think they do one of the best sort of the bits of research. So they just need like some upgrade on their design. Okay, give us one more, and then we get Aaron on screen.
Yeah, so actually what was helpful, and I don't know if everybody has already the website or the way to present themselves, but I always struggle to like, hey, can you give the link for the website? And it was super helpful to have a Dropbox. It's like a guide, like essential questions to ask when building your next career site. So I use it for my personal website as well. So how do I install the pricing? How do I like add the other products that I do, team, whatever? So to be honest, it was just a nice checklist, and I was like, this is the time to actually complete the website. So, and it's good advice.
And you know what, Jovial produced it, by the way. They're doing some really good stuff. They're producing these PDFs. I think they eventually will go onto a website, but for some reason I've got like direct access to it. And they're basically saying, you know what, here's how you build here's a how-to guide for building a career site, or here's a how-to guide for dealing with a programmatic vendor. Here's a how-to guide for buying an ATS. And it's like, you know what, this is like really good stuff. Check it out, folks. It's dead easy. Okay, Aaron, I want to bring you on, but before we do that, I want to bring on some other guests because I want us to be powered up here, because Aaron's going to show us a bunch of stuff, but I've also got on some other friends of ours that I think can help us just, observe and learn a little bit about what Aaron is all about. So let's bring on Alexandra. I think you might have met Alexandra before. And also my mate Ollie. So we'll bring him on.
They're very practical. They give really, really practical tips. I follow them both.
Yeah, you know what? Let's get them on, and then we'll get Aaron on as well. And I want to explain to the audience why we're bringing this crew on. Also, because we're going to basically scrutinize sort of Aaron's work, and I wanted to figure that out. And there he is, Ollie Glass. Ollie, how you doing?
Hello, Han. I'm very well, thank you.
Good to see you, sir. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Hey, sure. I'm an AI consultant and contractor. I've been doing that for a decade. Really interested in the whole data space and the AI space.
Fantastic stuff. And Ollie's going to actually give some technical critique of some of the stuff that we're doing here, because I wanted to say, okay, recruiters are like just DIYing this is great. Well, let's get someone who actually does some programming for sure, professionally, and maybe we can get some good tips there. And we've got Alexandra here. I love the hair, Alexandra. I believe that's a new color on you. But yeah, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do? Oh, Alex, you're on mute, I believe. Okay. I think still not.
We need AI to detect like all the problems to fix the voice and the camera. So once and for all.
I tell you what, there's no reason in this day and age where it shouldn't auto configure. Try and refresh, Alexandra, and then come back. We have Aaron here as well. Aaron, great to see you, man.
Hi, great to see you. Great to see you, Hung Ala.
Great to see you.
Ollie, we spoke the other day. Good to meet
Good
you.
to see you again.
Alex. Yeah.
Firstly, Aaron, happy birthday to you, man. I understand that was yesterday or so. So big happy birthday to Aaron Lintz. And yeah, why don't you quickly introduce yourself as well, Aaron? Who are you? What it is you do?
I've been sourcing now for 15 plus years. I really enjoy the it can be a job that's thanks to AI is some of the mundane pieces, but I'm more of a creative approach. So I love to try to find new ways to do things that, especially automation. But I often am doing it MVP style, trying to build something myself, or something that I'm curious about if it can be done, and not going to procrastinate. I'll just try to build something and see if it works and fail fast.
Yeah, fantastic. And Aaron, by the way, folks, everyone should follow Aaron if you're in recruiting or think of yourself more technically in the sourcing world. Aaron's one of those that definitely has led the way practically in doing it. And it's great that you're sharing your knowledge here as well, publicly, in the stuff you do. Aaron, give us the context for this job scraper. What was the situation, and what was the problem you're trying to solve, and why? What was the situation that caused you to go and try and build this?
Yeah, let me share the link real quick, and then and I'll preface a few things. A lot of people have asked, like, how do I want it to pull jobs from Sweden. I want it to pull jobs from Poland. Um, I've hard coded searches that are specific to North America, to the US. So, but I'll be able to show you the logic, and there's nothing here that is uh, can't be recreated by anybody with halfway decent Boolean skills and the desire to solve it. I'll share a few names that you should definitely follow who inspired me and gave me the idea while I was looking for work. I said, we're seeing this a lot, especially in the US, but I'm sure it's everywhere. Jobs are being posted and they're being filled within days, very quickly. So the response is very, it's disheartening for people to say. LinkedIn shows you how many people clicked. They changed, actually used to say how many people applied, but now they say how many people clicked because that was dishonest to them. But it was disheartening for people to see a job come down in 2 days that had just been posted. So um, the logic of Jung and Steve Levy was, what if I go directly to the job by looking on Google? I search the job boards and what Google indexes, because they're the fastest, obviously, of indexing websites. And if I could pull all of these ATSs, so what is the Boolean logic to find new jobs on every on every one of the major job boards? So basically unearthed that. So found like 17 different patterns for each job board, and then the keywords that you'd use, and say, give me the ones that happened right away. So that's where we use Google Alerts. So if you've used those before, you can get them in an email format, which is a lot like your website. I could say, I prefer RSS feeds because, like, I pulled the Lauder version of your site, because I can go by category and I can save it and find it later, because the emails, honestly, I get lost in where I found that email. If I don't read it right away, which I do, I make my best effort to read it that first thing in the morning. It gets lost in the feed. So the logic was, okay, now if I can do that, I can start to remove the duplicates because I'm pulling them all into a funnel. And then from that, I can use, instead of Boolean logic, I'm using regular expression, which works the same way as Boolean. You can say it has to be in quotes, or it doesn't have to be in quotes. It can be the start of the word, and I can pull in to remove ones that, like for resourcing or sourcing, we get a lot of buyers and purchasing people. When even LinkedIn is terrible about this, they'll advertise jobs for sourcing, and you'll find completely irrelevant job titles. So it's another way of taking that funnel, filtering it, and just sharing it with other people. So to find those, and then I've built scrapers for the job boards as well. So I can pull in real time 100 or more jobs a day into this feed, kind of automatically. It'll sort them as soon as they're indexed by LinkedIn, or as soon as the RSS feed. So I can have it either every 30 minutes or every 10 minutes, refreshing real time, and just going up on this feed that I can keep track of. And I've pulled over 5,000 jobs in the last 6 weeks that are completely unique. So it's interesting. It's definitely revealing some of these hidden jobs that just aren't easy to find.
Well, this is it. This is all about getting from signal to noise, folks. Sort of the signal from the noise, should I say. If you're on the job market, or you're doing BD, or you're doing anything, it's like impossible to surf the internet and find that information. It's practically impossible to do. And even if it was practical to do, in the teeth of competition, it doesn't make any sense for you to do it. So you need to have a new technique. Now, as far as I understood there, Aaron, and you might need to show us exactly what you mean by some of this, but as far as I understood it, what you've done is basically written a bunch of scripts which automatically collects this information as and when it's published, and then populates a spreadsheet so that you can just go to the spreadsheet and then you can get an update with all of the information formatted in a fairly basic sort of sort of way, but the information is consistent and standardized in the spreadsheet so that you can then do what you need to do, whether it's a direct apply or whatever it might be. Is that more or less a good summary, Aaron?
That's perfect summary. And Ali kind of built some piggybacked off that idea of saying, oh, this is unstructured data. It's coming from, let's say, Google. They scan the first few hundred words of a website. There's no consistent location. If you were to compare just visually every ATS, where the location is or where the salary is, it's all over the map. It's never in the same place twice. So Google just scans the first few lines, knows what the titles are, and knows where the links are, and some cursory words. So it's not that structured, but with a starting point as the direct link to the job, you can then query that to say, like as Ali, I'm sure we'll talk about other things that you can do, other creative uses with other, stacking the technologies.
Well, let's have a look at it, Aaron. Are you able to show us anything? Like, how is
Yep.
it? What does it look like? Let's have a look at the spreadsheet. Share screen if you
Sure.
can.
Yep. For sure.
If there's
So
questions in the audience, please pop up, because Aaron is using quite a lot of things that sound simple, but they're not in a way, because he's very knowledgeable about the language you're using and all this kind of things. Please,
yeah,
in the chat,
I
let us know.
apologize, and I've got the American speaking fast piece. But are you seeing my
No.
screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it perfect. What are we looking at here, Aaron?
So here's the jobs as of today. We've got tabs down at the bottom for ATS. So they're pulling directly from Greenhouse, GetRow, which is an aggregator for a lot of startup community. Smart Recruiters, Lever, Silk Road is still around, Workable, Ashby. So you're seeing all of the different ATSs, and here's the title that it's pulling, the immediate date that I have to kind of configure, and then the direct link to the job. So I'm not doing any tracking, or I'm not monetizing this in any way. But I'm not pulling in the location, whether it's full time or part time, salary range, etc. I just don't have uh, since they're all different. I don't have that capability. And then with the job boards, there's like you said, the signal to noise is pretty tricky. Oh yeah, if you from the feed, definitely click on it. I've gotten some basic analytics on the other end. So there's been about almost 300 unique users of the tool itself. So it's helping people, I hope, and helping them find positions. And like I mentioned, like here's the Lauder version of recruiting brain food. So the tool that I'm using is called InnoReader. There's paid and a free version, and I can pull in each of the different unique categories. Has its own RSS feed. Really simple uh, approach, and it's used for all podcasts. It's an old school approach, but it works because it's real time and it requires very very little effort. Here's an example. I'm using a Google alert. So with Ashby, I have my search, and every day it's pulling up links that it's uncovering with recruiter in the title. There's the actual Boolean that I'm using is, let me just go to edit one. So it's site job score, and then I'm looking for recruiter, recruiting, talent acquisition, sourcer, sourcing, people, workforce talent, saying search the web, preferably in the United States. This is where you could configure that for any part of the globe. I want all the results. and I want it coming in an RSS feed rather than an email. And again, if you were to do this on a small scale, you could do that and get them to your email. But again, so if you were to click here, you'd get the code version of this link, and you can take this link here and put it into Outlook has built in an RSS reader. And so if you just want them to come in real time to your Outlook, it can do that. But it has that capability with this tool that I'm using, InnoReader, to uh, pull in all of them and then put them into a folder. So now I can see the greenhouse jobs and smart recruiter jobs all come into one place. Um, from here, I'm able to build rules so that if the title, and since I've already asking specifically for these titles in the title, I want to remove some of those not words. So that's what I'm doing here. And then that automatically can do a lot of things. I can have it send me a notification, send it to Pocket, which is kind of cool because Pocket will, other tools will automatically pull the whole job description instead of just the summary. Other ones can put it in Dropbox, etc. But I'm using the webhook. So I have it writing to a particular script. And then in the, so Google Sheets doesn't have an inbuilt um, um, webhook. So I'm using this add-on by, where's the fellow? Well, I forgot to link to it, but they create a unique webhook link, and all you have to do is have that as the endpoint. So that's the endpoint that we connect here on InnoReader, and it will automatically send updates real time to the system. So I can have, I said, I found 100 matches today, and then I can filter in or out specific other filters. I can have the regular expression cleaning things up. If you don't like regular expression, you can just do an and or statement. So you can really, again, build your own Boolean if you're familiar with that. Um, with the job scraping, I can have it automatically remove duplicates. So if it finds the identical job that's been reposted, it will, if it has the same title, or if it has the same URL, or it does some inferred matching. So I'm using this to kind of as a rules engine to automatically do some of the cleanup for me. And it's, yeah, functionally building out and then keeping my own little checklist of all the ATSs and all the job boards that I've searched and built scrapers for. They will also do some cool stuff. So if there's a website like LinkedIn that doesn't have its own search, they will, it can build a scraper for them. So you can automatically, if you know a little bit about CSS or XML, or not XML, about XPath, then you can build in your own scraper. So you can put in the logic and tell it how frequently to check for updates. And yeah, so you can also pull in from newsletters. So you can give it an email address that it subscribes to a newsletter for. Pretty robust tool. It's definitely a power user tool, but yeah, the end result is something that again is pulling in 20 or 30 different sources. I can continue to add sources. And I was using this for competitive intelligence previously, so I could track other employers. Again, if you were an agency and you wanted to track very specific job titles, it's much easier to look at this than it is to email. And you have the advantage of building an archive. You'll never run out of uh, uh, a need to look back and look for something that was shared some time ago in the past. So
Do you know what? I mean, I can immediately see. Thank you so much for that exposition, Aaron. But I can immediately see the value from the agency side or anybody doing sales or market intelligence. Simply knowing what your competitors are doing, I think that just makes sense. And of course, it kind of just populates a ready to go prospecting list for you. If you were trying, if that information was valuable. So bear in mind, we're searching right now for jobs for recruiters, but the technique could obviously be applied to any type of update on a website. So it's a technique that I think is super interesting. Tell us a little bit more about this tool, this inner. I think you should stop sharing screen now, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Have I just focused it? Maybe I haven't. Yeah, but stop the screen share. So with regards to this tool, was it inner something? What was
in
it
the
called?
reader? In the reader, I just dropped the link. Yes,
Yeah.
in the chat.
Did you
Yeah.
really? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's I think I just shared it again. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very robust tool. I mean, it's got some things that if you're a power reader like I I'm like you. I love to read all the news there is to know. It's got a mobile app, but here's an example where let's see if this works, but um, it has this button here that will automatically uh, go to the website and try to pull in the data again, because you normally get a summary. So in this case, some sites give you the whole feed, other ones will just give you just the job itself. But it has the ability, let's say if I had an article that I wanted to use just as uh, a social sharing. So it has the ability to share to all your social media networks. Um, it's a brilliant tool. I mean, it's really well built. It's really customizable. And for me, I want to be able to read, um, technology news at the end of the day, right? I've got a mass media folder where I'm pulling in from Crunchbase and Verve and um, you know, uh, HR articles as well. But I don't want to see duplicates of the same product that gets Google just launches their new phone, and I'm going to get 12 articles about that. Well, I can have it say, remove those duplicates because it's the similar title, and I don't need to know 6 different opinions about the new product that just launched. So it saves me some time there. Um, on the paid version, I think I'm paying $80 a year. I wish it was cheaper. It used to be cheaper, but I
Still pretty
understand they've
cheap,
got to pay
man. I
the bills.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, when you're comparing about what it can do, like I was using it for competitive intelligence. I'd have it create a newsletter that went out to my team weekly, and I can subscribe people, and that's originally what I was doing with this. I thought people would want the newsletter, but at the end of the day, the newsletter again, it only showed what happened that day, and people weren't checking it daily. They were checking it periodically. So I wanted to people to be able to scroll back and look at the history. I used it for layoffs to find about news about companies that were doing layoffs. um, there's again the filters and rules. I can have highlighters, so when I was looking for people with clean code in their profiles, I was doing just open web searches for people who had updated their profiles or GitHubs. Um, there's just an insane amount of customization that's available for power users. There's an API. Um, it can translate articles automatically in other languages. It has a verbal reader, so it can read you the articles and save it as a podcast, so you can listen to them while you're doing lawn work. Um, it's
there's a big
it's
saver there straight away.
it's overkill for most anybody. But there's tons of free or very cheap um, RSS readers, but this has a lot of capabilities that the others don't.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. By the way, we've got a question in the crowd there, and Dan has insisted because he's mentioned me. He's insisted that I ask it to
Oh,
you. So I'm gonna have to do it. Okay, can you build a scraper that goes to tens of thousands of clients' career pages directly rather than job boards? I'm
yeah.
imagining you could, but you're gonna have to give a list of those URLs to
Yeah,
do
you're
it,
gonna
right?
have to do it. You're gonna have to do it. You build. Yeah, I mean, it, this is that would be. I don't know that Google Alerts has a limit. I'm not aware of one. And you could do that this way. There's functionally better approaches to solve that kind of problem. That's kind of like yeah. This
Hey,
isn't
would you mind if,
this.
sorry to jump
I
in,
don't.
do you mind if I
Oh yeah,
respond to that one? I think it's a really interesting
yeah.
question.
Please.
I'd love to
Oh,
talk a
hang
bit
on.
about
Before we
how
do
you
that, let's get off the screen share. Um, and then get us because I think we're all struggling to squint on this thing here, and we need to
Yeah.
see our beautiful faces on screen. Or maybe
So
I've just like incorrectly fiddled with it. Go ahead, Ollie.
where are we? We're all little buttons at the top, aren't we?
We're all little
Exactly.
buttons at the top.
That will,
How do,
Have I done
that
how do we
something
break
will
wrong?
out of that?
do for now.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'd love to jump in and respond to Dan's point and kind of maybe just talk a little about the platform. You asked for my thoughts on it as a data person, so maybe I can start there and then speak to what Dan has asked. I think this is really impressive. You know, I'm a professional developer. I build things in Python. I build like large scale data platforms, but I'm really impressed with the kind of MVP, quick and dirty, like proof of concept approach. I think it's so practical, it's so pragmatic, and the results speak for themselves. You don't need my commendation here. Like that spreadsheet is so obviously useful. You've got near real time feeds from what was it, about 20 job boards in there, and you've got them nicely organized. You can kind of see them coming in like minute by minute. That's fantastic. I think just to comment on the platform, and then this will link to Dan's question. My understanding is that you've got all these different sources. You found the different sites, which immediately is a value add that you're so aware of the market and the space that you've found all these different corners of the internet where jobs are being published. And like you were saying before, you're going right back to the source. Like something lands on LinkedIn, it might be a day old, and a day means a lot right now. It's a very tight market. So that's already useful. You've got all these sources. You're pulling them all into InnoReader. Some of them you're loading in directly. Some of them you're using the Google Alerts, and that's adding another layer of filtering. That's really powerful as well. You've got like country filters, things in there which are super helpful. And then from InnoReader, you're loading into Google Sheets, and that's where we all see it when it gets to the Google Sheets end. It's a really smart setup. You're right. Was it InnoReader? I'm not familiar with it myself, but the way you're using it as a data platform is so clever. It's such a smart use of the tool. Like you can just load in as many sources as you want, and it will pull them all through in a standard format, which is what we need so we can see it in Google Sheets at the end. So to Dan's question, I think this goes in two directions. In one direction, it looks to me like InnoReader, you could just keep loading as many sources as you can find in there. Will it go to tens of thousands? I know we could try it and find out, see how far it gets. And then Hung, you were saying you'll need the URL for each one of those. Yes, that's true. And only a couple of years ago, that would have been one of us sat there grinding on. But with a little bit of scripting, maybe doing some Google searches automatically, maybe a bit of Chat GPT, like, hey, here's the results of my Google search. Can you pull out all the URLs? Can you like give these to me in like InnoReader format so we can load them in? Maybe we can get tens of thousands in a reasonable amount of time. So everything you've shown me so far, it doesn't look like it wouldn't scale. Let's just find out. Let's see where the limit might be. I think it's a really impressive piece of work. It's more than like just a kind of report on jobs. I see it's like a whole data platform and an extensible one. And I think that's such a smart thing to build with these kind of tools. Clearly, like so useful.
Aaron, with regards to how long it would take someone like me, like I'm bit low level, right? I'm literally the lowest level it can be. Like, how long would it take for me to figure out how to do this? With, let's say, with your expert guidance, what do you reckon is the ramp up time for this? For basically a non-technical recruiter to be able to fire something like this up?
15 minutes. I mean, I think you could build a. I mean, you could do one job. You could find one thing that you really want to find, and pull out, and then from there, you know, build in the filters and push it to the source that you want to.
I think we're struggling with some internet here.
Arrive.
That's okay.
Then it's just a matter of.
Okay, I think I got it, Aaron. Thank you very much. We just a bit choppy on the internet there. But yeah, I mean, Dan, listen, this is addressing to Dan Patel in the chat there. Obviously, this can be done. I'm sure either Ollie or Aaron will charge you a fair sum to actually implement this. So if you're actually keen on doing this, let's get those guys are happy to get in touch with you a bit later. But you can see sort of there's lots of recruitment companies out there, lots of agencies out there, a lot of in-house recruiters that will have tons of data, or at least tons of reasons to kind of use a tool like this to put it all together. We just need to create some bandwidth in our own time to figure out how this is done. Now, the good news is, Aaron, you've been very, very public with all of the things that you've shared. So, by the way, yeah, let's everyone share our contact detail, because we should always do that anyway. Folks, we always do this in the middle of every show. Let's not forget to do it now. So grab your LinkedIn URL, folks, and just share it in the chat. If you're watching this anywhere on LinkedIn or elsewhere, grab the same URL and stick it in the comment thread there, and then just connect with everyone you see, and obviously connect with there. Do be respectful for Aaron's time. Do not feel that you need to respond to everyone, by the way, because I also need to say Aaron's actually been really public with his learnings here. So if you just follow his LinkedIn, you'll be able to see a lot of this information for free anyway. And I believe you're also giving a number of talks in person on this, Aaron. So do you want to tell us sort of what your speaking schedule is looking like in the next couple of months? Because I think people might want to come, and if they're in the area, I'm sure they'd love to drop into those events.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the RecFest for the first time for me in the U.S. Last year they were here in Nashville, and they're returning. So the talk is, again, focused on this. I can maybe go into some greater detail about, either from an agency perspective or from a job seeker perspective. And hopefully there's some takeaways that people can learn. I was asked to also speak at SourceCon in San Diego. So that's the following month. And they gave me an interesting challenge, which is, how would I reverse engineer this and find candidate data? So again, I've already done some of that in the past, but where can I find, again, if I want to pull from GitHub profile changes, all of those things are documented. People who are making comments on subreddits, all of those things are indexed and very easy to search. So yeah, there's a lot of capability to do that. So I'm going to build an alternative version from a candidate seeking perspective.
Yeah, fantastic. And sorry, Ollie, you about to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a few questions, if possible. Also, it's coming from the audience. So, Aaron, I'm a huge fan of yours. I think I learned a lot from you. So it's really, really fascinating, like how humble you are and how smart. So just a few things to clarify.
See, look at the beautiful background that I usually hide.
No
halfway moving, so no apologies.
Exactly, no one cares about this. We listen to you, so actually I just look at the background when you mentioned. So but the question is, could you please give us the list, or like explain us the things that you've used for everything you've built. So what I mean, the skills. So
Right.
someone used Excel skills, someone used to do these Iron Reader skills. So what are the skills were used to create what you did?
Right. So finding the job boards. So this is the one question I have about the person is that I have the URLs of the companies, but that's great. But their career site is either embedded into the website or it's it's a standalone thing where the URL is slightly different. So learning how to find the right URL, which I think is again a, a good sourcer should be able to play around with links and find those things. Um, so once you've found it, how do you find the feed link? There are Chrome extensions that can do that, and other just looking at the code, you can see if there's an XML or an RSS feed or an Atom feed. Um, th those are fundamental parts of how the internet works and has worked from the beginning. Plugging that into another place so that it's easier to find, um, using that inner reader tool, um, then kind of thinking about the logic about what it is I want and what it is I don't want. How do I filter that signal to noise ratio? And then um, Excel or Google Sheet skills of just saying, I need to have the header. It can't be pretty. I can't say job link. It's got to be whatever the feed is expecting. So I can customize what the output looks like based on the structured data that comes out. And so you can play around with that. But I don't think that there's um, a skill required that is really a programming skill, although I'd say there is because at the same time, I think all of those logic comes into play. Ollie could speak to that much better than I, but you know what you want, and know and how you get there is the steps of just logic and reasoning.
No, it's super helpful to be honest. You just really put it in like a very like for 5 years old someone like this is the first skill you need, the first step you take, the second step, etc. So, thanks. So I was actually was my second question about the programming skills. So, do you have any scraping skills? Do you use Python a little bit, or maybe other languages?
No, no, I am very basic. I know I know just from scraping websites. I love web scraping. I've been passionate about that for years. I've got hordes and hordes of data that I shouldn't. It's a good thing I'm not in Europe. Um, but yeah, I mean, everything that I've accumulated over the years, lists of conferences, attendees, and such. Um, and but I always have to have that, or I've been taught from friends that hoarding data isn't the purpose. You have to keep in mind what is the end goal, how much work does it take to achieve that? Is it worth the effort, um, or is there a simpler solution that's more robust? Like, for example, the 10,000 jobs. Maybe it's easier to index Indeed and say just companies named this. Instead of finding 10,000 links, I could find one link and say these are the names of the 10,000 companies um, that I'm interested in, and that would give you the same, uh, potentially the same result with much less effort. So uh, we just have to think about things um, and do our diligence instead of uh, jumping into the work, taking that step back and hopefully bouncing some ideas off of other creative people um, to come up with the best solution that requires the least amount of effort.
It's a brilliant answer. It's like you don't need to have a very good memory. You just have to be have a good skills in scraping. So.
Look, I've just seen loads of comments also on LinkedIn. Clearly, it sparked a conversation here. Folks, let me know if we could kind of persuade Aaron to do a 1 hour tutorial. Would you be up for doing that? Let me know in the comments. I'll be very interested to get general vibe check to see whether this is something that you want to build in your skill set. Do you want to kind of break through? Sometimes I feel like this is the kind of thing people get inspired by, but then if they don't then do it or practice it, they'll just slip back into, oh, I can't do. And in fact, what needs to happen is people need to just go and crack through it. So it's almost like breaking through the ice. So yeah, loads of people, let me know in the comments on there. Aaron, listen, I'm going to let you go because time is pressing and I don't want to burn any more of your time. Wonderful to get your input on this. Really fantastic. To get the education and the sharing. And thank you so much for your contributions to the community. And in particular, thank you very much for being open with everything you're doing. I mean, right now, you've never thought to commercialize some of this. But this tutorial, folks, you're going to pay for because you're going to pay Aaron for it. That's what I'm thinking. All right, listen, Aaron, listen, I'll let you go. Happy birthday again, and listen, let's keep in touch, man. I'll speak to you soon. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
By the way, there's another good reason to go to Nashville, by the way. RecFest, I think tickets are still available. So if you haven't thought about it and you're umming and ahhing, you've got about a month to get yourself a ticket to that. And you'll see people like Aaron talking about those wonderful things. Ollie, whilst we've still got you on screen, again, I don't want to bleed too much more of your time. I was just thinking, okay, our audience here are non-technical recruiters. Everyone's saying thumbs up. We want to know more. What other advice would you give to a non-technical person who just wants to give something like this a crack? But you know what? They just don't know where to get started. What's your advice to that group of people, Ollie?
Gosh, that's a bit of a tricky one off the top of my head. Where do you start with stuff like this? I think finding people like Aaron who are doing this work and who are doing this work publicly, kind of sharing how they're doing it, the results that are coming out. Like I had a look at Aaron's LinkedIn feed and I see that he's posted right from the early days when this was just an idea and then building it up piece by piece. So I think folks who are sharing their work like that are great to kind of be around and absorb from. Beyond that, I think the other thing I really take from Aaron's approach is I get the impression that he's used tools like the Google Alerts and like the InnoReader that he's already familiar with. And then he's just thought, how do I join these things up? What can I do with them? And I bet all of us have some version of that. Like everyone here will be on LinkedIn. We'll all have email. Most of us might have heard of something like Zapier. So is there some kind of Zap you could set up just to play around? Hey, when I get an email from this person, send me a notification or do something else with it. I think part of it, for me, like how I learned a lot of engineering, and a lot of engineers will say this, is playing around with stuff and just kind of seeing what it can do, testing it out. If you make a kind of safe area to play in, so you wouldn't start this off on your work account with like kind of company emails, but hook some stuff up to your personal systems, do some zaps that feel kind of quite safe, and then see where your ideas go from that, see what else you're seeing in Zapier, what other kind of integrations you might use. Maybe you start sending things to a Google Sheet, maybe you start doing stuff like from the Google Sheet into other notifications. There's some people in the comments I can see who are suggesting like other apps and things they're using. Yeah, I would say start with what you've got. Think about how you can put some kind of programming element to it, maybe with something like Zapier, and just play and build from there and connect with other people doing similar things.
Yeah, very, very good advice. Start with, we're already using technology, folks. We're already using tools that can be connected in this way. In fact, if you looked at one of the Aaron's sort of techniques was actually to use a Google add-on. People don't actually are aware that actually Google Sheets has got a massive library of add-ons. A lot of them are now AI powered actually, that you can explore and just plug in. And the entire world is moving toward a place where technology is becoming more modular and interoperable. And I guess part of the reason why I wanted to do the show was because I wanted to basically say we need to get, we don't all need to be technical intuitively like Aaron is, but we need to kind of take a step in that direction. Because the future for us in recruiting will be people that are able to mix and match and build tools like this and get super fast very quickly without waiting for Microsoft to roll in some amazing product that everyone can use in the same way. So we all need to kind of up level our technical capability. And I'm looking at myself in the screen when I say this. Okay, that's about it. We're going to let you go. Ollie, thanks a lot. We obviously need to have a conversation. I think you're in London next week, aren't you, sir? So let's catch up when you're in town.
Yes, I am. Let's do that.
Yeah, have a good week. Let me know when you're actually in town, because definitely we need to catch up. And I think that's about it for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. If you thought this was useful for anybody else, make sure the replay, you can just grab the URL of what you signed up to, just share it with them. They can see that also. We'll be back next week. We've got a totally different show. I think next week we're actually going to be on Thursday. So we're not gonna we're gonna flip it from Friday to Thursday. Reason why, one of our star guests, Ray Walker, is going on a holiday on Friday, but he is so vital for this show that I wanted him to be there. We are going to be, it's kind of UK focused, I'm afraid to say, but basically UK has a new government, new Labour government in the UK after 14 years of Conservative rule. And obviously, we need to know what the implications are for us in recruiting and HR. There already have been a number of announcements, which makes a big difference in terms of how we operate as recruiters and managers. Let's update ourselves on what all of that is. And so we can give advice internally for our companies, but also understand how this impacts us in our work. It's not only Ray Walker, we've also got Neil Carberry, who's the CEO of the Recruitment and Employers Confederation. We've got Tony Wilson as well, who is from the Institute of some sort of workforce. I forget the name of it, Tony, but he's one of the really amazing voices that commentates on labour market economics in the UK. And I'll be interested to know what he thinks of how the new Labour government manifesto is going to translate into policy, which then hopefully will translate into things that happen into the economy. So make sure you check that out. Follow the channel if you want to keep updated on that, and we'll see you next week. Okay, cool.
Nice.
That was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just sad. It's a little bit different format, but I think it was so nice that we saw the demo, but then Aaron also explaining step by step. So I think the idea to have like a real workshop on that, or something like hand holding session, is a great one. But I agree. So we have to pay him.
No, I'm gonna call it hand holding, right? I'm going to call it hand-holding session, and we're going to set it up. Yeah, they're going to have to cough up some money, and it won't be like a massive amount, but we've got to compensate Aaron in some way. So maybe people can pay, I don't know, 30 quid or something. And then we'll basically get a real good understanding of what it is. What I saw there was worth more than 30 quid for sure. You can implement this technology and really get ready to go. And it might just be, that's something I might want to try and do. Like, there's expertise that comes on every week on Brave Food, and I'm thinking, you know what, I need to find a way to connect these experts to people who actually want to know more, like go deeper, because we're not always able to do that with Brave Food, because obviously we've got to make sure we're touching every topic and all the rest of it. So yeah, we'll aim to do that. Anywho, so what's happening for the weekend, Ala? Anything interesting? What's the plans?
The interesting, yeah. So to be honest, it's a lot of reading to catch up. By the way, I just dropped the book that it was the first book ever I read about technologies. So the secret is to keep up with technologies. You can marry a developer, so you can try to read a little bit about it with the basic stuff. But to be honest, all the books like Python for Kids or Python for Dummies was amazing. So I learned a lot for recruitment and trying to implement it. So I think I'm going to use this weekend is to say goodbye to summer, because it's finally a little bit colder in Amsterdam, and catch up on reading. And yeah, boring, but nowadays you have to read to keep up with things.
I absolutely agree, and don't be ashamed to dive into the dummies section. I mean, I think the dummies series, or the dummies concept, was actually a really, really good idea, because we need to be able to break through that first bit before we get totally intimidated by all the bits and bobs. And what will happen is, as with any expertise, is that once you just achieve that sort of breakthrough, it actually becomes like very intuitive and very obvious. So yeah, I think that's the way forward. All right, listen, let me let you go. Good to see you again as always. And yeah, have a good weekend. I think this is the last weekend before it starts raining heavily, right? We're getting like rain warnings, so that's gonna happen. And that's the end. So enjoy the summer, Ala, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.